There's a density of prayer, density of peace in this place. And right away I felt that that Our Lady is here. The first time I heard about Medjugorje was when I was in grade 9, and two Jesuit priests came into class, at religious class, and they shared about this place. I think it was when Wayne Weible came to Kitchener to talk about Medjugorje. It was in 94 or 95. It was during that school year. And I devoured all his books and the literature available. I started going to Marian conferences in Toronto. Even before I came to Medjugorje, as I was reading these books and material and recordings and videos and all that, I was at that time actually going through a very difficult point in my life. I was struggling with surrendering to God. I was going through impasse in my own spiritual growth. I wanted to be worthy to earn the mercy of God. And it was going nowhere. I was just feeling that I was a failure, God cannot love me. Reading this material, the voice that came out loud and clear from Our Lady was the messages that I come here to tell you that God loves you. And it was such a powerful experience that I counted for that as my second conversion. My first conversion was coming to know Jesus personally back in 93 and 95 when I was reading that and experienced that powerful presence and that message of love from God through Our Lady here. I realized that God really does love me, and Our Lady is journeying with me. So I've already felt like I knew the Queen of Peace even before I came. And so when I came here, it was like coming to see Mama. And I remember we arrived in the evening before sundown, and we're so excited seeing St. James. And so we went to the pension, and then me and my friend Gabriel couldn't wait. We just ran to the church, and people were coming out after prayer, and somehow we got in and started praying. I just felt that this is home. And it was so peaceful. There's a density of prayer, density of peace in this place. And right away I felt that that Our Lady is here, that Jesus is here, and the people are responding to it, and it's possible. I can pray. During that first week when I was here, there were a number of things I began to see that was changing. I was an introvert, and so I wasn't, wouldn't be the first one to talk about what's going on in my life. And I remember with the other pilgrims, we would sometimes just sit around the dinner table and start talking about our day. And I finding myself with so much joy and peace that I wanted to share what the Lord has been doing in my life. So that was already one of the first fruits. One of the other fruits that I received at my first time here in 96 was that at Eucharistic adoration, there was the last time that we got a chance to go, one of our group members was a Croatian. And she insisted that, they knew I was discerning priesthood, and said, you need to come with me to go to adoration early so we can be close to Jesus. So I said, oh, okay, so how early? And she told me, and it was like almost 2 hours before adoration. So I said, why so early, but anyway, we went, and instead of sitting in the pew, there was no one in the church. She grabbed me and said, well, you kneel at the foot of the altar. So we were like in front of the altar, at the bottom of the steps. There was no one in the church. I said, why not sitting down? I said, no, you kneel here. And so I was there, and then when they eventually brought the Eucharist out, I felt that the Lord was saying that, choose to rejoice. And I think it was at that time when I said, what do you mean? And I realized that how much anger and sadness and negative emotions that was in my life. And I felt that, oh, I didn't realize I can choose to rejoice. I can choose to smile. So I chose to smile. I just put a happy face on my face, right? So, and I couldn't stop. This joy just continued. And I like to say that since that day in 96, there's always that ability from the Lord that allow me to be able to smile in all circumstances. And it's a great gift. I remember coming out, people were commenting and say, you look good. You look very, very happy. And I said, yeah, the Lord told me to rejoice. And it was a great gift. And it came with me when I went back to Toronto. I remember we all didn't really want to leave the last day. We were only here for 6 days. And when we were leaving here, we all felt that it's too short. And I was going through a bit of a grieving process. I remember I went home, and the next day I woke up very early. It was like 5 a.m. And I was staying at my parents' place at the time. And at 5 a.m., there were birds singing outside my window. And right away, I remember the birds singing here in Medjugorje. And the birds singing when I spent night after night at the where they have their candlelights right now behind the church. I used to sit there every night during my visit. And when those birds were singing outside the window, the day after I returned to Toronto, it became very clear to me that Our Lady was saying that I'm with you and I want you to bring Medjugorje home. So I started practicing praying from the heart, really, intensify my daily visit to the church, to go to Mass as often as possible every day, intensify my desire to read the Bible, really commit to fasting. I've been fasting on Wednesday and Friday on bread and water for many, many years since. Not every week I was successful, but I would say most of the weeks, and committed to confession, at least once or twice a month. And I've been faithful, and so many fruits came from that. Very shortly after that, I was sharing my testimony and what I received from Our Lady. And already many people have already commented and said, well, you need to respond. I think the Lord is calling you to the priesthood. And so I was already discerning when I came here in 96, but that intensified that need for me to enter into that place of prayer and that commitment to submit to God's will. And the year after, I received the call very clear, confirming many things that I was praying for. And so 2 years after that, in 1999, I joined the Companions of the Cross and eventually ordained in 2005. I think without the messages in Medjugorje, I wouldn't know where I am. Not even the call to the priesthood. I might still be struggling in many ways with, that perfectionism, the need to earn God's grace, struggling with a lot of self-loathe, having read the messages of Medjugorje, having come to Medjugorje, and having really tried to live that message, which really brought the gospel message. It's nothing new, really, with Our Lady's message here in Medjugorje, but it really made it simple, down-to-earth, practicable. I think it would take me many, many wrong steps. But having come to Medjugorje, having read the messages, having tried to live it, certainly accelerated my path toward the Lord, brought many, many graces of conversion in my life, prevented me, or at least brought me back every time I fall, much quicker. It's certainly instrumental that lead to my eventual saying yes to the call to priesthood. In 2005, after I was ordained, one of the preparation for my ordination was that I need to come back to Medjugorje, because I felt I need to thank Our Lady because she was so important in my journey in responding to the call to holiness and responding to my vocation call. So I came back here literally within the 10 days. I think 10 days after my ordination. I am another priest, Father Brian, who was ordained with me, and his mother. The three of us came back to Medjugorje, and we stayed here for, I think, close to 3 weeks. And we have no agenda. My only agenda was attend Mass in the morning and hear confession at night. And I highly recommend that to any newly ordained priest or priests that want to have a recharge in the priesthood. I found I was so quickly grounded in my role in my priesthood. Already, in our preparation, we read about St. John Vianney, and he always talked about the two altars, the altar of the Eucharist and the altar in the confessional, the two places where the priests should be living their lives and giving their lives away. So I felt that this is a perfect place, and it was. It was a tremendous blessing. Preparing for Mass, celebrating Mass with so many priests, with the full congregation. Most nights, I think I spent 2 to 3 hours in the confessional for the whole time we were here, and it was so humbling. It was such a blessing. I learned a lot from the penitents, and it's just amazing. Coming back many times. I came back in 2006, 2011, 2014, and now 2023. And journeying with the pilgrims here and knowing the people here and meeting the other pilgrims, it's interesting to see that with the situation of the world and how Our Lady is really calling more and more and more people here. And one of the first things that come to mind is that if Our Lady has not built her school here in Medjugorje by these simple messages that people come here and be completely transformed and converted and set on fire and going back to their home country, hometown, and living more fervently, more intensely the gospel with no compromise, there would be so few people standing up for Jesus in the world today. I think Medjugorje is one of the most important places of conversion that is so necessary today. And being a priest, I take the front row in seeing that and participating in that, especially in the confessional. But pretty much anywhere here, one of the things that brought me so much joy is to the people that I meet here, either people who are locally living here or people who come here as pilgrims. There's a spark in that connection that somehow many of the faces that I come to encounter, I know that we're going to know each other eternally. There is that depth of love that this is a heart who's on fire for God, who want to really press in to get to heaven. And this is what heaven is supposed to be like. And it's very palpable, sensing that here. And there's no other place, no other program that I know of. And I know many priests who try so many different things. I myself, when I was in the parish, tried so many different things. There's no other thing that I know of that had been so fruitful in bringing souls back to God than here in Medjugorje, in the programs here, the evening programs here, and the live experience here of the people here, all trying to respond to Our Lady's message, all trying to embrace the gospel message. One of the things on top of the sense of peace and the power of experiencing the messages here, conversion, confessional, that I find very special here in Medjugorje is that most of the messages here were giving very simple terms. And they're asking us to do very simple, small steps. Seeing that experience of peace and friendship and hospitality and great faith and hope here in this village, it's a proof that if we all try to strive to take these little steps, everything can change. I know many lay people, many priests, many bishops who just frankly don't know what to do, especially in the Western world. People are leaving the church, families are breaking down, children are not coming back to their faith. All that problems, all the values infiltrating the church from the world, the massive walk out from the church. I just frankly don't know what to do. And a lot of people think they have to do this crazy big thing. But having come here and experienced the fruits here, it's evidence that no, I think we need to give that solid hope to people is that no, take those small steps. God is alive, He's moving, He's in our midst, He's the master of conversion. He is working in people's hearts. We need to be faithful, we need to be devoted, we need to respond to those messages, come easy time, difficult time, all circumstances. Continue to be going to Jesus, going to Mary from our heart.